Over the course of 3 visits to the town of Neepawa, students from the University of Manitoba's Masters of City Planning program have been consulting with residents and investigating the town to come up with some suggestions to make Neepawa a more age-friendly community. This December town hall meeting marks the final presentation of their findings and an opportunity for residents, particularly older residents, to give their feedback not only to the presenters, but to representatives from the town and the province who were also on hand. Some of the key issues they identified were a lack of safe pedestrian crossings in many areas, and a lack of bike or multi-use lanes forcing a lot of cyclists onto sidewalks. The geography of Neepawa's Main Street, a provincial highway which divides the community between north and south, causes a lot of challenges when it comes to crossings. As well, Neepawa's rapidly increasing population creates a need for what they call gentle density around the downtown areas to allow for a more walkable community. Following feedback received at this meeting, the project will provide a final report to the town in January.
Okay, well thank you everybody for coming out, and apologies for our slight delay in starting, but we're so appreciative that everybody is here today. We are from the University of Manitoba, here with the City Planning Program to do our final presentation for the people of Neepawa. We are Ebenezer,
John,
Evan,
Julian, Jessica, hi, Neha.
Perfect. Okay, and I'm going to hand it off to John. He's going to introduce us a bit further and tell you about the nature of our project.
all right. So let's just get started. We started coming to Nepal as part of our research to understand how we can help plan age-friendly communities for our aging population, as the World Health Organization has indicated. Our objective basically is to learn from older adults in this town on how we can improve and make life more comfortable, helping you to live and age in place while you continue to contribute to the town's growth. We had to rely on the World Health Organization's guidelines on age-friendly communities, and we looked at 4 main areas: that's housing, outdoor spaces and building, transportation and mobility, and social participation. And the location of Neepawa makes it very important in terms of tourism, because when you look, it lies between Winnipeg and that of the Riding Mountain National Park, which is very good for tourism activities, because when people are moving here, probably they want to come around and see what the town also has to offer. Now we had to also look into the demography of the town to enable us know what we are dealing with. We realized that the town is growing rapidly, and this is as a result also to the fact that a lot of newcomers are coming to work in the High Life factory. The older adult population is about 18% of the total population, which we think is very significant for the assignment we are doing in this town. The immigration or the newcomer population represents roughly about 39%, and unfortunately we had wanted to engage with them to also find out their views to help us know what we are dealing with in this town, but we weren't able to talk to them. When we look at the median age, we realize that in 2016, the median age in the town was 38.6, a little below that of the province. But in 2021, according to Statistics Canada, we also realized that it has been a slight increase as compared to that of the province. This underscores the fact that we need to plan our communities to be able to accommodate these aging population that we are experiencing currently. Now, when we look at these 2 graphs, we realize that in 2021, we have most of the active age being growing, that is because of the increase in the newcomer population. But look at this further forward, few years to come, majority of this population is going to get into the 65+ year group. And this is the main focus of our assignment to make sure that by the time these people hit this particular age mark, they are able to age in place while continue to contribute to the growth of the town of Neepawa. Also, we also realize that because of this increase, the town has increased about more than 4 times that of the province, which is 5%, and the whole of Canada, which is 5.2%. So the first time we came, we were able to engage with a portion of the older adult population, and we heard from them what is working in the community and what is not working. We also went around to observe for ourselves some of the places that needs improvement, and we came back, that was our second visit, to show the older adults that we engaged with what we have been able to come up with so far. After the second visit, we were given individual assignments. That is a president's research, and this research was supposed to aid us to find out more about age-friendly infrastructure and services elsewhere that we can implement to help in solving some of the challenges we identified under the various sectors that we mentioned earlier. Our third visit, we basically came to show our suggestions, and we also received inputs as to the areas that we did well and those places that we needed improvement. And for today, we have modified these places, and we are trying to present our final presentations given the ideas that we draw from the third visit. So the first presentation we had, basically we identified the strengths and challenges that had to do with the sectors that we have mentioned according to the World Health Organization. And under housing, some of the major strengths we had an excellent option for downsizing and assisted living. We think that this is a very good thing for the town of Neepawa. However, we have some challenges as well. A growing pool of single-person households needing accommodations. We also looked at the fact that there's new housing that is required for newcomers because of the increase in their numbers. We also looked at outdoor spaces and building. And a good thing that we identified under the strength was the fact that there's good sense of safety. However, there are challenges such as non-continuous sidewalk network, which we think needs improvement. Inadequate pedestrian crossing as well, which we have had some suggestions to show for it. Also, we looked at transportation, and a major strength among the many that we had was that there's affordable handy vans free on Tuesdays for seniors for grocery shopping at Fresh Mart and Co-op, which we think is very good considering the assignments that we are doing in the town. However, we also saw that there were some challenges such as diagonal parking on Mountain Avenue, which causes blind spots. We also looked at the fact that cyclists make it very difficult for older adults to use these sidewalks. Sometimes they run into them. That is what we're told, and also as part of our observations. In terms of social participation, we also were able to identify that a very good strength is the fact that amenities are centrally located. However, there is also a lack of free gathering spaces. And we have had suggestions which we think if the town adopts will help in improving this area. Our suggestions fall within these 4 major categories. Per the challenges I just spoke about, we have had these 4 suggestions to propose to the town of Neepawa to adopt to help improve and make the town more age-friendly. I will pause here and invite Evans to continue.
Okay, well, I'm just going to talk to you about housing briefly here. We took a little peek at the distribution of the private housing available in Neepawa, and we've noticed that while single detached homes continue to grow in number, you'll notice that the number of 4+ person households have been growing much faster. And at the same time, the proportion of people living alone has gone up. So over here you can see the lack of 4-bedroom apartments and the surplus of smaller units means that might become an incongruity at some point. Also worth noting here is that since 2011, the number of available units in the private rental market has gone down somewhat. So there's an increased need for all of these new types of housing in the town. So we've looked at some of the opportunities that we see for different kinds of housing that will lead to a flexible and really robust way of dealing with this. So we focused in on 3 different types of housing prominently: mixed use, multi-dwelling units, and secondary suites. The first one, mixed use, is essentially when you have a residential on top of commercial building. So that's the kind of thing we'd see maybe on Mountain or on Hamilton. That kind of housing opportunity is great for people who are either living alone or live or work downtown. That would help bring some vibrancy to the street too, help the businesses with more dense residential area around that, so people come patronize the businesses. Turning to multi-unit dwellings, essentially we've noticed that these are coming up in Neepawa already, and it's simply a necessity. So the way we looked at multi-unit dwellings, we were trying to envision them as much as possible around the downtown area, gentle density, but so that you can have that base to make sure that the vibrancy and the businesses are able to pop downtown, and that people are able to get around and know their neighbors, that kind of thing. Finally, secondary suites. These already exist, frankly, almost everywhere, but having them be up to code just means that you can have this flexible approach. So you can start off, let's say you're a young couple and you'd like to have a rental suite on your property attached to the garage. You can start off renting it out to supplement the mortgage, and then someday your kids get older and they need a little bit of privacy, you can put them in there, and then the next person buying the house can decide what they want to do with it. So trying to encourage and make these as available and easy to do as possible means a lot more flexibility so that things can go through different life cycles. We've got a few zoning suggestions, which I won't get into right now, just ideas essentially, but you can talk to me later at the boards if you have any more interest in that. But fundamentally what we're talking about is just this area around Mountain, around Hamilton, the downtown area, just making sure that as many people get to live down there as possible so that we can make it a vibrant, happening spot for everybody. I'm going to pass it off to Jillian, who's going to talk about Mountain Avenue.
So we identified Mountain Avenue as the core commercial and social hub of Neepawa. So we kind of just identified it on the map here. It's the primary north-south connection in Neepawa.
Sorry, could you speak up a little bit? It's really hard to hear you back here.
Okay, so we've identified Mountain Avenue as the main commercial and social hub in Neepawa. It's the main north-south connection in the town. And currently, as it stands, Mountain Avenue consists of 2 lanes, diagonal parking on each side, as well as sidewalks. And we have some suggestions based off some of the strengths and challenges we've seen. So as I mentioned already, it is a space for vibrant local businesses. It has lots of community services and spaces such as pharmacy, medical clinics, Fresh Mart like the grocery store, arts and cultural spaces like Arts Forward, churches and the library are nearby. It also provides good connectivity between educational, recreational, and other services. But considering the challenges, we've noticed that the width of the street is a big challenge, especially for those crossing the road. As you can see here, this is one of the crossings, and as pedestrians, we've experienced it's kind of dangerous. You have to really take your time to cross it and make sure it's safe. And we identified 2 of the main pedestrian crossings that people have noted that are dangerous on Mountain. And another challenge we've heard from people from the town is that as it is a provincial road, changes need to be made with the province, so it's not up to the town as much as some of the other places could be. So as we have, based on these strengths and challenges we wanted to address, we have come up with 4 options to consider for Mountain. So the first one here it retains the diagonal parking, but instead of but it widens the sidewalks and has curb bump outs, which makes the sidewalk wider and also shortens the pedestrian corridor, and adds a median, so it narrows the road and makes it feel safer and slower for those driving. And then the next option is pretty similar, except it adds parallel parking. So it would take away some of the parking spots, but as we said, diagonal parking can be dangerous because of the blind spots it creates. So that would help that, but still retain lots of parking spots because there will be diagonal parking on that side. And then these two options here, this one here changes everything to parallel parking, but widens the sidewalks and keeps the median as well. And as we were discussing before, the cyclists and the people on the electric scooters sharing the sidewalks can be dangerous. So we've added a cycle lane as well that has a buffer between the roads, so it keeps cyclists, pedestrians, and drivers safe. So all of these options promote safety for pedestrians and kind of takes back some of the space for pedestrians instead of giving it all to the cars. So we really want to emphasize safer crosswalks, the ones with the button you click and the lights flash, and it makes it really obvious to drivers that someone's crossing. Adding more landscaping and greenery, which kind of beautifies the space, as well as curb bump outs is one of our ideas, because you could provide more seating on there. There could be a restaurant that spills onto the sidewalk and has patio space. And then parking, we would adjust the parking just because we feel as though the diagonal parking, as I mentioned, is a little bit dangerous.
Okay. That takes us to Main Street. As she mentioned earlier, we should be talking about making streets much safer for people, those using scooters and those crossing and all that. So that draws our attention to the Main Street. Main Street is basically the gateway to the town, and it's much takes high traffic into the town. So our suggestion is that we looked at various places that could be dangerous based on the input that we got from older adults based on our first, second, and third visit. And then we kind of have some suggestions. So an area overview of Main Street in here, that's the Highway 16. Main Street, we are referring to Highway 16 here. So we're looking at the current condition. So this is the current condition that we have at the Main Street. So the challenge basically is that it doesn't have much crosswalk and sidewalks, making it very difficult to be able to get to the other side of the town. So it divides the northern and the southern parts of Neepawa, and doesn't much promote integration between various sectors. If somebody wants to get to Co-op or Freshmart or even Starbucks or whatever it may be, it becomes very difficult to be able to cross. So we looked at it, and then we have some few suggestions that we would like to put before the town of Neepawa. So we're looking at pedestrian crossing at the east of Highway 5, where the north sidewalk ends. So we have over there, so the sidewalk ends there. So we realized that just opposite going to Co-op, the sidewalks end, and if somebody is on a scooter or an older adult is using a scooter and want to go to Co-op, it's very difficult to be able to cross to the other side. So we kind of proposing or suggesting having a continuous sidewalks that ensures that people are able to move freely and then without any hindrance and obstruction or that. So the sidewalks is basically to improve connectivity between people moving from Main Street, Mountain Avenue to the other side of Neepawa, which is basically kind of not much interconnected. So here's where we are speaking about. Here's what I'm talking about. So you see the sidewalks basically ends there. So somebody is on a scooter or something like that, the person will have to grapple himself or her way out before he can cross or something. So this is our suggestion. So pedestrian crossing at Brown Avenue and also Highway 16. And what we came across, our analysis showed is that Trans-Canada Trail also intersect at this particular section, and then there's basically no crosswalks or any sidewalk over there. So we are suggesting kind of having a sidewalk or maybe a pedestrian corridor over there to ensure that people can feel safe, that if I'm going to the other side of the road using that particular side, I'm safe, and then nobody's going to jam me from behind or anything. So our suggestion basically is that we have much of sidewalk and crossing there to slow down traffic. If somebody is driving at a high speed, the obvious ability to be able to stop for someone to cross becomes very difficult. So if you introduce sidewalks, crosswalk and all that, somebody won't have to jaywalk, and then increasing kind of risk of pedestrians and motorists over there. And it doesn't basically only benefits those crossing or pedestrians as well, motorists. You are rest assured that there's a crosswalk here. Somebody's not going to run and cross me suddenly and I have to brake. So it's kind of benefits each person. So we are kind of proposing, suggesting a kind of a median in the Highway 16, which will make the road a bit narrow and reduce the speed over there. And then we'll have sidewalks, have a kind of greenery alongside it. It makes it a bit livable and live to walk around that area. So that brings here, and then I'll bring Neha to talk about Hamilton Street.
Thank you so much. So we're starting with the Hamilton Street here. Now Hamilton Street is another important street because it's the upcoming connection to the hospital that is being built right now. So you can see that the Hamilton Street, it's gonna come together towards the new hospital. So it's an important east-west route through town. Hamilton Street is poised to become a central connection development. Sorry. Okay. So this is the current conditions right now. So Hamilton Street, one is the residential street that is residences on both sides, and then there is other one which is going to be connected with the hospital, which is like 8 meters here and 12 meters there. Now what we have suggested for the connection between the Tupper Avenue and the Hamilton Street is that coming from the 8-meter wide road, which is towards the hospital, we're proposing a cycle lane or a multipurpose lane where it connects back to the residential area, and a sidewalk which also continues towards the residential area. So that's a basic connection between both ends of the Hamilton, which will go to the hospital as well. So these are some of the options. Like for example, we have proposed a multipurpose lane which could be used for the scooters and the cycles, and the driving lane at the center, which is like 3 meters. This is for the 8 meters lane, and you can see the precedent study here that you can imagine the traffic is going on here, and then there is a lane and a green buffer in between. The second option is a dedicated bicycle lane and a sidewalk that I have provided in the plan also. So it has a dedicated bicycle lane which will go from the residential to the hospital, and we have 2.5 meter driving lanes and 1 meter sidewalk at one end. So you can see here how it will look. So another option is again a multi-purpose lane, where last time we came we had this discussion that scooters are kind of a nuisance right now. So we have proposed a multi-purpose lane which could equally be used by the cycle and the scooters, which is electric scooters. And then on the other side we can have a sidewalk where the people can basically walk safely.
Okay, and I'm just going to talk about the flats for this last part. So most people here should know that the flats is centrally located in the town, but it's also a part of the Trans-Canada Trail. It intersects in this section here. Next slide, please. So the flats, as it currently stands, is this major sports hub. It's near the center that we're in now. It has a public washroom on the premises. It's near the swimming pool and Riverbend Park. Next slide, please. And again, it is a part of the Trans-Canada Trail, so there is opportunity to somehow integrate people on the trail who are passing by the flats to maybe visit this space as well. And so some suggestions that we have for Neepawa include, thank you, looking at the edges of the flats, so the western edge as well as the southern edge, and also the northeast side of the flats. So what we've heard in our previous visits is that the sports field is very important to the community. A lot of kids use it for their sports. The space is also used in the wintertime for the Winter Wonderland Festival. So keeping that intact, we are just looking at ways that maybe transforming the edges and the eastern part of the flats to incorporate some passive uses. So that includes adding more trees, having activity zones that incorporate intergenerational activities such as ping pong or permanent cornhole game setup. And on the northeast side, it is prone to flooding. So we understand that this space is generally not used because of that. And something that people might consider is having some sort of passive use within that space that responds to the floodplain. So it could look like a boardwalk that rises with the water, just so people are able to use the space, because currently it stands vacant. And here are just some details on how it could look. So if we're looking at the plan on the right-hand side here, the plus signs indicate seating, so having more seating for people who as rest stops for people who are walking around, or for people who want to casually watch the sports games from a distance. And then trees, of course, to help with comfort and shade of those that are sitting there. And of course, those activity spaces in the pink triangles, and that could be 1 or 2 depending on what the final design of these edges could look like. And then in the eastern side there, having a curved boardwalk or something like that. We are trying not to design it, but it just shows maybe what it could look like. So this is a precedent photo of something that could possibly rise with water when it floods. And this section here just shows what the edges could look like. So this would be Mill Street. So you have the sidewalk here and having some seating and an activity space such as ping pong before it reaches the soccer field. And I'll just reiterate that a lot of our ideas that we spoke about today are on our boards just behind there. So there are a lot more details, and we're here to answer some questions if you have any about them. But that just concludes our presentation today, and thank you for coming out.
Also, just to add to that, Coda, we have a bunch of literature over there that we compiled about a variety of precedents if you're interested in nerding out. And there's a bunch of coffee over there if anybody's interested in drinking coffee.
And Timbits.
And Timbits.
And I guess we can answer some questions if anyone has any.
Do you have a copy of the presentation available at all on any media or anything?
I believe we can make that happen, absolutely. We'll also be leaving the town with all these boards which go into much greater detail on everything we discussed. And there will be a final report that we compile, which will be this, but with with expanded points brought to the town, I think sometime in January. So we can connect you with whoever you need to, but if you just want the presentation, I'm sure we can make that happen too. Okay, well, thank you. We'll just tear this down, and we'll be around the boards in case anybody has any thoughts or what have you.
Can I just say, sorry, I'm Richard Milgram. I've had the pleasure of leading this wonderful group of students this term. But I have also told them that in their final report, they have to include your feedback, and they're going to include feedback that they've already got. But if at the boards you have other questions, if you don't like something, they need to know that. That needs to go in the report, because negative feedback is as important as positive feedback as Neepawa moves forward. I mean, we want to leave Neepawa with something that you can use. So if some of the suggestions are really good, your support, expression of your support will show up in the report. If you have questions or you think some of the other things are a little bit challenging, they also need to know that, because that will go in the report, which will then become something that the town can use and remember that you've already gone through that, right? That is that.